继稀土之后呢，大豆也卡住了川普的脖子啊。网上我们看到美国的农民真的是哀嚎一片啊。很多人就提出了说我们要生意不要政治。可是在我看来呢，这个大豆啊真的不是政治博弈的这个产物，而是由于川普作为美国的总统，他一个人的思路没有足够的大局观，而造成了今天这么一个地步。其实他一开始的思路并不能说是完全错误的，比方说想让美国的制造业回流美国，这是没有什么大的错误的。为什么？因为这个由于贸易逆差太多了之后啊，其实美元在全世界的这个力量啊，虽然还是很大，可是它逐渐在削弱。为什么呢？我们看这2天中国的和这个澳大利亚的一个例子就能看得出来。中国要购买澳大利亚的铁矿石，然后提出了我们要用人民币来结算，澳大利亚就拒绝了。拒绝了之后没关系，我们可以买巴西的，跟巴西就产生了这样子的一个合作关系，可以用人民币来买卖。为什么后来这个澳大利亚也觉得可以了呢？因为他突然想到了，因为中国有很大的这个贸易顺差，我们也要在中国买很多的东西，所以我拿着你的这个人民币，我也能在你这购买很多的东西，所以人民币完成了一个闭环。那这样子的话，对于美元的这个压力来讲，就会变得很大了。虽然说人民币现在只有10%的这个流通率，可是要知道这10年是从3%涨到10%的，而且这个闭环逐渐在产生啊，因为有很大的这个贸易顺差嘛。美国本质上就是靠美元、靠军事、靠这个前沿科技来雄霸全球的。那现在打仗出现了一点问题，因为稀土不够了，对吧？还是由于自己的这个战斗力也不够啊。我们看到他在演讲的时候说自己的这个军队的这个人都肥头大耳的，要求减肥，不能有秃头，要刮胡子，对吧？这些就能看得出来战斗力也是不够的。可是美元不能再丢了，美元再丢的话就剩一个前沿科技了，那可咋整呢？对吧？所以美元他的想法是什么？那我们一定要制造美国的贸易顺差，他的想法是没错的。可是你想做这一件事情，你一定要学中国的文化呀。中国文化里面就有一句话叫做什么？治大国若烹小鲜。你再有这样子的想法，你也不能全世界抢劫，你到我这儿来投资这个制造业回来，那个过来投资制造业回来啊，一下子大家就看得出来，原来你美国已经没有以前那么强大了。以前你还能玩一个空城计，对不对？大家不知道你里面发生了什么。那现在呢？现在像是打地鼠一样，我抓住了这个澳大利亚，你不能跟中国交易啊，我来打你一下。你巴西不能跟中国交易，打你一下。你打过去以后，这个就钻出来；打过去以后，这个就钻出来。所以整个游戏就变了。网上不是说嘛，治大国在川普的手上变成了爆炒腰子，之前还搞一个效率部。你真的不知道你这个大面积的这个大动作会触动到哪一个动脉。就算是那个什么开发署，它在外面就有点像是我们吃水果里面的这个膳食纤维一样，你看起来是一个没有用、没有营养的东西，可是它帮助你胃部消化的啊。所以每一个部门你只能慢慢的去改变，哪有像你这样子这个劳师动众的。现在的大豆的农户，今年即使你说我要补贴你们啊，虽然说政府也没钱了，也没钱补贴了，也不知道你拿什么来补贴，可是你补贴了也没用啊，他不知道他明年该不该种啊。一旦大豆的这个农户开始破产，那么这个产业从此就没有了，这个产业从此就变到阿根廷，变到这个巴西去了，整个产业没有了，那要比你现在抢来的这些钱要重要的多得多。所以在他的脑子里面，纯粹的只有价格，它没有价值。价值是可以不断增值的，而价格只是眼前的兑换。你兑换一次价格，那么价值就损失掉了，就没有了，在你这就没有任何的价值了。所以一般来讲的话，人家割韭菜也不敢全割吧。所以到了今天这个地步，美国的大豆农户会不会全面破产，真的很难说。那么失去的仅仅是一些有工作的人变得没有工作吗？其实远远不止如此，失去的将是整个产业。
Everybody's pretty nervous. Everybody's pretty scared. There's some of the older guys that, farm out of their pocket. They're like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not giving back 30 years worth of work. Everybody's scared to death. I got friends that are bankers that, will tell you the bank examiners is already telling them, look, you're going to have to deal with these guys because their equipment's not going to be worth as much. Their land's not going to be worth as much. I mean, this is exactly like the movie from the 80s with Sam Shepard and Jessica Lange Country. That's what's going to go down. They're going to sell people out.
Jeez. All right.
On Thursday, a Commerce Ministry spokesperson said the U.S. should cancel the relevant unreasonable tariffs to create conditions for expanding bilateral trade. In other words, if you want us to buy soybeans, get rid of the tariff.
The Trump administration admits farmers are not doing well under President Trump's tariffs, most especially soybean farmers. The, quote, collateral damage, as Politico puts it, in the president's trade war with China. Since May, China has not purchased a single U.S. soybean, not a one, according to the American Soybean Association, turning instead to Brazil and Argentina. That last country there, one that the Trump administration decided to send a $25 million aid package, a bailout that could be backfiring, according to Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. You just heard what she says to reporters in public. Well, here's what she says in private to other officials. She sent a text message to the Treasury Secretary last week while he was at the UN. Here is a picture of it. The message, photographed by the AP, showed Rollins worrying to Besant, saying, quote, we bailed out Argentina yesterday, and in return, the Argentines removed their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price, and sold a bunch of soybeans to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China, adding, this gives China more leverage on us. Joining us now, Arkansas soybean farmer Scott Brown. Scott, good to have you back. Like to see you on that combine.
Thanks for having me, Katie.
All right, so I thought it was interesting seeing what Brooke Rollins said to reporters there at the White House and the way that she spoke to the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent. Why might she be so worried about the soybean market?
Well, like we talked earlier, we went from 12 billion to zero. And then, as a farmer, we get up one morning and you give Argentina, which is our second biggest competition in the world. They're the largest exporters of soybean meal in the world. So I get up one morning, I turn the news on, and you give $20 billion of taxpayer money to my competition. And then the Chinese buy, I think the figure is 30 or 40 containers, ships, which is about 65,000 metric tons per ship, which is like 2.2 million bushels. So they buy 12 or $14 billion worth of soybeans from the Argentinians after the tax holiday. And here's the caveat to it. They give $2.30 over the November board, while I'm getting 50 cents under the November board. So that makes the Argentinian soybeans about $12.42 a bushel. I think that's the real figure they gave. So all my premium went.
Scott, I just lost you there at the end. You said your premiums go?
They all went to Argentina.
Yeah. All right. She says that don't worry. It's a time of uncertainty, Brooke Rollins does. Hang on. Relief is just around the corner. What would that relief be? Do you see it coming?
I don't know. I mean, how do you give me relief through the CCC with the government shutdown? We were going to plant canola this month. It's one of the few things we've found. It's moved into Arkansas. They're going to make renewable jet fuel and renewable diesel of it. We've never raised any. I had to get a loan from FSA to do it because it's an uninsurable crop through the federal crop insurance. But they would let me do it through the NAP insurance. Well, I can't even get the loan for it because there's nobody at the FSA office. There's nobody at the NRCS office. We shut the government down. They all went home.
I'm laughing because it sounds ridiculous. What do you do then? What do you do? You're a soybean farmer. Last time I talked to you, you said you believe you're going to break even. Are you still on track to break even?
I don't know. I've lost 10% of market share since we talked last. I've lost another $12 an acre for the difference in the market when we talked last to where I'm at today. The
It was like a month ago.
Every day. Yeah. Lost another $12 an acre since then on 500 acres.
How are your other farmers, for your friends, feeling? I know a lot of them are Trump supporters. Do they still feel good?
Everybody's pretty nervous. Everybody's pretty scared. There's some of the older guys that, farm out of their pocket. They're like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not giving back 30 years worth of work. Everybody's scared to death. I got friends that are bankers that, will tell you the bank examiners is already telling them, look, you're going to have to deal with these guys because their equipment's not going to be worth as much. Their land's not going to be worth as much. I mean, this is exactly like the movie from the 80s with Sam Shepard and Jessica Lange Country. That's what's going to go down. They're going to sell people out.
Jeez. All right.
China is already making clear the power it holds by stopping its purchase of American soybeans. Soybean farmers here are now suffering economically like they haven't in decades. Our Matt Rivers has this story from Nebraska.
Kennard, Nebraska feels a long way from Beijing or Washington. But as two economic superpowers wage a trade war, these amber waves of soybean are on the front line.
China has not bought a single export cargo of beans so far this year, which is not very typical.
And that's happening because of the trade war.
Correct. When China quits buying, our prices go down.
Scott Thompson is a fourth-generation farmer whose soybean crop has become a central focus in China's fight against the U.S.
April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn.
After the president put sweeping tariffs on Chinese goods, Beijing responded in part by halting all American soybean purchases, drying up the multi-billion-dollar market that buys more than half of America's soybean exports, more than every other country.
Right now, we're Right now, we're below the cost of production.
You're losing money.
We're losing money.
And he's not the only one. Farmers all across America struggling to sell their soybeans. The rising cost of fertilizer and other inputs not helping matters.
We can't just continue to feed equity into the fire.
We sat in on a recent meeting of the Nebraska Farmers Union.
We're in the middle of the worst economic downturn that I've seen in my 50 years since the mid-1980s.
Members telling us they feel the Trump administration has let them down.
We voted because he was going to help the farmers, and now it's just hurting us like crazy.
Agriculture is our foundation here in Nebraska and many states in the Midwest. If agriculture is failing here, everything is going to fail.
People here wondering if President Trump has forgotten past promises to look after them, even during trade wars.
Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer. I want 80%, 85% of the farmers, and I love them, and I'm never going to do anything to hurt our farmers.
The first Trump administration gave farmers more than $20 billion in emergency funds to offset trade losses. On Thursday, a Commerce Ministry spokesperson said the U.S. should cancel the relevant unreasonable tariffs to create conditions for expanding bilateral trade. In other words, if you want us to buy soybeans, get rid of the tariffs. President Trump acknowledging that same day that farmers are hurting, alluding that help might be on the way.
So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape.
He said that he was going to get into these tariff situations while he was campaigning. So you knew that when you voted for him. Why did you vote for him when you knew that you might again face headwinds like you're facing now?
I voted for him because I'd like to see manufacturing come back to this country. I'd like to see good paying jobs. I want to see everybody do better. And I think this is some short-term pain for a long-term gain.
Thompson says farmers are more resilient than most, used to boom and bust cycles. A trade war, just something else he'll weather.
This is not an easy life. So why do you guys choose this? Why does this matter to you?
Well, I would say there's a few days in the middle of winter and middle of summer that everybody asks themselves that question.
Well, you stick with it.
Oh, you stick with it. It's a passion, it's a tradition, it's a hobby. There's farmers in our area that have full-time jobs, and they'll do it after working on the weekends. And, that's what they grew up doing, and people have a lot of passion for it.
Our thanks to Matt Rivers.